What do you think your goals will really bring you? Like, have you ever found yourself going after a goal or maybe even hitting the goal and still feeling empty inside? Like you achieve it and it doesn't feel like enough, and all of a sudden your feeling of worth becomes a moving target and you never quite get to that place of fulfillment, that place of joy. See, one of the three greatest challenges that I see entrepreneurs make on the path to their biggest dreams is not knowing how to enjoy the ride and actually appreciate the journey. And in fact, this makes them never hit their biggest goals and never hit their biggest dreams. And anytime they achieve something, it doesn't feel like enough. This is the third piece of our Speed Up Success series. See, I've studied thousands of entrepreneurs over the years, and I've discovered something really, really powerful about what makes people actually thrive. And what I've found in the wildly successful people that I've worked with is that every single one of them is truly fulfilled on the path to their dreams instead of thinking that their dreams will make them feel fulfilled. That is one of the most significant differences of successful entrepreneurs versus unsuccessful entrepreneurs. This is the third piece in our three-part series of Speeding Up Success. We talked about massive vision, massive goals. We also talked about being honest about where you are. Now, when we are where we are, when we're honest about where we are and we know where we're going, now it's about how to get there faster, how to speed that up. This is the Path to Mindset Mastery podcast. My name is Brad Bizjack. I'm a mindset and personal development expert with 9 years of coaching experience, and I took my own business from $92,000 in debt to a multi-million-dollar business in just a couple of years. And I'm obsessed with helping entrepreneurs come alive to their limitless possibilities. And I want to start by a little recap of what we talked about in this three-part series so far. Part one, we talked about to speed up success, we need a vision bigger than we've ever dreamed. We need to be excited about where we're going. And we'll talk more about that next week in even more detail. But we need to be excited about where we're going, something that compels us, that moves us, because without a compelling future, we're automatically going to focus on the problems of the present. So we need something massive that pulls us, that's exciting, that we actually want. And if we're not hitting our goals, because they're not big enough. They're not something that actually move us to get there. Second piece we need is to be honest about where we're actually at, because if we make up stories about where we're at, then we actually think we're further back than we are, and we have all this mental cloudiness, so we can't think clearly to get to where we want to go. This third piece is when, if we're following the same GPS metaphor, we have that exciting destination, we're honest about where we are. This third piece is about how to get there faster. See, I've seen entrepreneurs for years always post consistently about it's all about the journey, but then that same day they're stressed out, right? It's all about the journey, and the same day they're sitting there, they post that because they had to come up with a social media post that day, and they just feel exhausted and tired and overwhelmed. And what this leads to is an entrepreneur that is always on, do, can never turn off. I want you to ask yourself if you've ever felt that double guilt. Guilt when you're working because you're not with your family or with your friends, and guilt when you're with your friends or with your family because you're not working. And you feel like if you stop, everything will fall apart. Like everything's held together by a little thread and you can't turn it off. That is the consequence of attachment. That is the consequence of you believing that your goals make you something. They don't. It's you making yourself something that creates the goals. So this episode is all about attachment and letting go of that feeling of your worth being somehow tied to an outcome. Because here's the thing, the reason that sounds great in theory, but the reason this is so important is because once you realize that you're not tied to an outcome, then all of a sudden you take more risks. You do more things, you're more creative, so you actually create the big dreams and the big goals. Does that make sense? So we need to break this feeling of attachment, this feeling of I am my results. If you believe you are your results, then what that means is no matter what result you get, if you don't get a sale that day, you're going to feel crappy. If you get a sale that day, you're going to feel electric and amazing. So your emotions are up and down all the time because your worth is based on what you complete instead of who you are. And that's not fair to you. If your worth is based on what you complete instead of who you are, think about the consequences of that. What are the consequences of thinking I am my results? You're always exhausted. You're always overwhelmed. There's a piece of you that knows they're meant for more, but you're not actually getting it. And you're just always stressed. You're always overwhelmed. You're not enjoying the beauties in your life. You're not taking up the moments to soak up a hug with your kids or to spend a couple extra moments with your husband or wife because you're too exhausted. You're too stressed. And you're thinking that everything around you need to go the way that you want in order for you to feel something. That's not how success works. That's breaking the laws of success. If you think that somehow achieving something or completing something or getting done with your to-do list is actually going to make you feel something, then what you'll find is that you'll complete a list and ask yourself, where's the fulfillment, where's the joy? And so you'll make yourself a harder to-do list to show that you can overcome more, and then all of a sudden you'll be even more exhausted. And it's do all the time, can't turn off, and overwhelm. And what that does is it lowers your energy. It causes you to constrict. And when you constrict and when you're protecting yourself because you think your worth is somehow tied to an outcome, so you always need to be perfect, always need to be on, then what ends up happening? There's no energy. There's no aliveness, no creativity to give your biggest goals and your biggest dreams. You just feel exhausted 24/7. And so there's no new ideas. You try the same old thing over and over and over again, thinking that somehow it's magically going to work. And then when it doesn't work, you make up stories. And you say, well, it must be easier for them. They don't understand my situation. My situation is harder. But if you think about it, when you shift this and you realize I'm worthy either way, I've always been worthy, I'll always be worthy, no matter what happens in my business or my life or my finances, I'm enough as is, aren't you more likely to do the things that will create the big dream? You're going to put yourself out there in a new way than you've never put yourself out there before. You'll try different things. You'll feel more alive, so you'll have more challenging conversations. You'll reach out to the better prospect. You'll do all these incredible things that will lead to a beautiful life. So the byproduct of living this way, of a place of detachment, is where all of a sudden success starts flying to you. And your goals and your dreams seem to happen faster. And it almost seems effortless. Just kind of happens. And that sounds bananas. I know. I used to look at stuff like that and be like, no, that can't happen, until I lived it. And once I lived it, I realized this is real. These are the laws of success. So we want to get to a state of detachment. Detachment is not that you should own nothing. It's that nothing should own you. That is a beautiful place. When you can live in that place of, it's not that you should own nothing, it's that nothing should own you, all of a sudden, you start moving. You start doing different things, so you realize that no matter what the outcome, I'm still enough as is. I'm still enough who I am on the inside. That's plenty. I've always been enough. I'll always be enough. I'm enough right now. Does that make sense? So if we go back to this success GPS metaphor that we've been using the last couple of weeks, and we think about part one is the destination. Having a compelling destination that's worth driving across the country for. And if you set your goals based on the current amount of gas you have in the tank, then you're going to turn around and go home, and you're not going to be excited about where you're going. This is why goals seem to evade us. In part two, last week, we talked about being honest about your current situation, where you're currently at, your GPS pin right now, not making up stories that it's better than it is, not making up stories that it's worse than it is, just being objective. This is my starting point. This is my bank balance. This is my business size. Your objective starting point. And then when you go from where you are to where you want to be, then all of a sudden, you have something called a ride. A drive from where you are to where you want to be. Now, on this ride, going back to this metaphor, if you've heard this before, remember repetition is the mother of all skill. And so I'm going to repeat some things I've repeated in previous episodes so that it really locks in, because I'm helping you to rewire your mind. And if you think you're going to get it just from one, we need conditioning. Conditioning. You can't just do one set of push-ups and have a strong chest. You need to make sure and do consistent push-ups and condition this. So even if you heard this before, go in with an open mind, because that's where change actually happens. Otherwise, you're one of those people that says, oh, I've learned it, cool, I know it, I'm good. But knowing isn't enough. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is only potential power. Action trumps knowledge every day of the week. And so I don't care how much you think you know, go into it with a student's mindset. Does that make sense? So, if we're charting a course from where we are to where we want to be, think of it like you're driving a car. You have your current location, you have your amazing destination. Well, when you start driving, if I'm in Chicago and I want to drive to Yosemite National Park because I love hiking, and I'm obsessed with waterfalls and nature and all this cool stuff, and I'm driving from where I am to where I want to be, and I live in Chicago, here's what's interesting. When I first start that drive, there's some traffic. It's bumper to bumper. It's moving slower than I want to go. Most people think it should be 90 miles an hour one way to get to where they want to go. But in the beginning, it seems to be bumper to bumper traffic. There's stoplights and stop signs and left turns and right turns, and you're going down one ways and all this stuff, and you get to the freeway and you start to merge on the freeway, and you think it's going to be this big acceleration when all of a sudden you go to those little stoplights at the freeway. And then you finally go and you floor it, but then you realize you get on the freeway and it's all bumper to bumper traffic. Chicago traffic. That's what it's like starting your dreams. And you're driving down this road and you need to honor that speed, because if you go 70 when everyone else is going 10, you're going to hit someone. And if you go 10 when everyone else is going 70, then what's going to happen is you're going to end up causing an accident. And so we need to honor the speed limits of life. We need to notice that this is the speed that I'm going at, and that's okay. I'm learning something right now. And then you're going to start to get out of town, and that speed's going to increase even more. But what you'll notice is as your speed out of town increases, meaning you start gaining momentum and gaining traction in your business, you start to notice that your gas tank's getting a little bit low. And you also are noticing that you're starting to get hungry and need to go to the bathroom. See, what most people do on their path from where they are to where they want to be is they're like, I don't want to stop to pee. I don't want to slow down at all. I need to be going full force. Now, I did this once. I did this on my drive from Chicago to Dallas. And I thought that I could save 2 hours by buying a portable urinal and peeing into the urinal and pouring it out the window while I was driving. How do you think that went? I peed on my face. And this is what most entrepreneurs do. I'm not kidding. This is what most entrepreneurs do. They aren't willing to take a break. They aren't willing to slow down and recharge their batteries and have self-care because they think that they always need to be on, always need to be going. And if they just go, then they'll get to the destination faster. But what ends up happening is you end up peeing on your face. It's not fun, which makes you stop even longer and clean up. So when you feel the urge to go to the bathroom, when you feel the urge to stretch your legs, the point is you need to get out of the car on the drive. If you're driving from where you are to where you want to be, rest and recharge is part of the game. And that makes you enjoy the journey even more. And so I want you to ask yourself, when's the last time you've intentionally recharged your batteries? Stop to go to the bathroom or get a bite to eat. And then on this drive, you'll notice that your gas tank's getting a little bit low. You start to get a little tired, don't you? Well, you need to stop for gas. Now, what's this a metaphor for? Recharging your batteries through mastermind or coaching, your seminars, or group coaching, whatever it is. Recharging your batteries so that you have more fuel to drive further. See, this destination is so exciting for you that you're willing to fill up your tank multiple times. Does that make sense? And so you have to fill up your tank by investing in yourself, by getting around people that are playing ball at that next level. That allows you to change and grow faster than ever before. And then you'll be on this drive and you'll notice that it's flat and it's amazing sometimes. You're cruising through the cornfields and then sometimes you get to a mountain range or a topography where it's just hilly. And you notice that to go the same speed you've been going before, it takes pushing down on that gas pedal a little bit harder than you've been pushing. A little more effort's required. And then there are times when you get over that hill and you're going down the other side and it doesn't take any effort at all. And you can take your foot off the gas and just kind of cruise down that hill. And then there are going to be times in this journey when there's different weather, where it's sunny and you're going for it. There are going to be times in this journey when it's raining. And here's the thing, what most entrepreneurs do when it starts drizzling is they pull over. They stop. Oh, this is hard. This is a challenge in my life. This is what's going on in the world. I'm going to stop right now because the media says all this crap's going on. But do you need to pull over your car if there's a drizzle or a light rain? No. The only time to pull over your car is when it's a downpour, or when it's a blizzard. Now, what's that a metaphor for? When it's a downpour means something truly significant's happened in your life. Let's say you lose a loved one. Is that a time to keep going in your business? It's not a sign to go back home, but it is a sign to pull over the car and handle that and then get back on the road. You're not any further back if you take a break and handle those situations. But I don't want you to rationalize that a challenge in your life is actually causing your business to slow down. That's what most people do. It's when there's actually significant rain, significant snow, that's when to do it. And you need to be the judge of that. Most people use a light rain as the reason to pull over, but I'm telling you, if you want to speed up success, that's where you keep going when everyone else is pulling over. And then you're going to be cruising on the road, and you'll notice that you're on this 4-lane superhighway, and all of a sudden, those lanes narrow down to 1. It's a construction zone. And all of a sudden, it's slow again when you thought it should be fast. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can either be upset that it's moving slower than you want it to go, or you can play Taylor Swift. I recommend playing Taylor Swift. Your call. But most people, when that happens, when it's going slower than they thought it should be, they get pissed off. When in those situations, if you enjoy it and you celebrate, you appreciate it as part of the journey of life, then magic starts happening, my friend. It's beautiful when that happens. And then you're going to be on this journey and you'll be making progress towards your dreams. And all of a sudden, GPS will pop up and say, hey, faster route available. A new opportunity that you've never tried before. Something beautiful, something amazing that is a risk. It's a gamble. Let me ask you a question. Is Google always right? When you're on Google Maps, isn't it always ends up being down to the minute when they said you'd be there? Right? So you can keep going the way that you've always gone, Or you can trust that Google knows what they're talking about and you can take that road less traveled. You can take that different path than you've known before. You can take that leap of faith into the unknown and give up what you thought would be. And when you do this, you get to your destination so much faster than everyone else who floors it through the 10-mile-an-hour bumper-to-bumper traffic, who doesn't stop to pee and ends up peeing on their face, who doesn't fill their gas and runs out of gas and has to call AAA, who gets furious when there's a construction zone, who doesn't take that new route. That's what slows down success. But when you're one of those people that actually is willing to take those pit stops, willing to fill the tank, willing to go through all this topography, willing to deal with the different weather, willing to go and celebrate during those times where it's slower than you thought, and willing to take the road less traveled, the different route than you thought would be, you speed up success. But there's one thing that makes all of this even more possible, and that's who's in the car with you. Because if you have people in your life that are dragging you down and you have dreams of going from Chicago to Yosemite on this amazing hiking trip, and you have these grand visions, and the people in the car with you are saying that hiking sucks, you're not going to want to go hiking when you get there. You're going to want to turn around and go home. And you might be saying, but Brad, what if this is a loved one? What if this is a family member? What if this is someone I care about? Buy them a plane ticket. Put them in the trunk. I'm not saying put your spouse in the trunk, but you buy them a plane ticket. You go that distance anyway. You're a visionary. You go first. And you go the distance anyways, and you show them how beautiful it is. I did it in my life. You can do it in your life. But you need to be with people on that journey that are excited about hiking in this metaphor. Otherwise, you're going to be exhausted. Otherwise, you're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to slow down your success. That is the power of letting go of attachment. See, I want you to ask yourself a question. What do you think the end will bring you? What do you think your goal will bring you? And people say all the time, financial freedom. Great. What will financial freedom bring you? And you might say peace of mind. You might say security. Well, question for you. What's preventing you from having peace of mind right now? Security right now. It's not money. It's how you're thinking. It's how you're feeling. See, when you take a look at what you think the goal will give you, and you ask yourself, why don't I have that now? You realize, oh my gosh, I could have that. So the very thing you thought the goal would bring you is available to you today. And when you realize that the very thing you thought the goal would bring you is available to you today, then you start picturing it and living in the feelings of your wishes and seeing that as real and living in those emotions, being wealthy before financial independence and all of this stuff, and you're living in that place. Then all of a sudden, the tangible results are just a cool little bonus because it's really about the person you're becoming. That's what we need to rewire. That's the subconscious mind that we need to shift and change. And when you do that, I promise you, life will never be the same again. You will succeed faster than ever before. You'll make more money than you've ever made. Life will be very, very different very, very quickly. But it starts with you rewiring your mind. And if you're having a hard time with this, if you know this conceptually, but you haven't really adopted it on the inside, take our What's Your Unique Success Archetype quiz. It's free. It takes 60 seconds. It's changed tens of thousands of lives now. It will change yours too. If you understand this conceptually, but you're not actually living in it, like you know that you need to enjoy the ride, but you're not actually doing it and you're attached to success instead of detached, it's because of your belief system. It's because of the way that you've been operating up until now to try to create it. And you'll be able to see in that archetype quiz what's slowing you down, what's getting in your way. And when you have that awareness, you can do something to speed it up. Does that make sense? So I hope you found tremendous value in this episode today. Please make sure you screenshot this, share this with the people that you love the most, share it with your team so they can grow and change. I hope this 3-part series added value to your life. We need to dream bigger than we've ever dreamed. We need to be objective about where we currently are, and we need to truly be detached and enjoy the ride so we get there faster than ever before. Remember, if you're having challenges with this, take the What's Your Unique Success Archetype quiz. You can find it at quizzes.bradbizjack.com, or we've linked it up below. But either way, I hope you found tremendous value. Thank you so much for tuning into the Path to Mindset Mastery podcast. Thank you so much for listening to this 3-part series on speeding up success. And I'm so excited to serve you next week in our next episode. I'll see you next week.